guys, welcome or welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated. Truly, truly is. So today I'm going back down the rabbit hole again with a few more story times that I have not read yet. With that being said, before we start, I hope you guys are liking these. I want to say that I am pretty much on this island all by myself trying to find these and read the least amount as possible so that when I do these, it really is truly my first reaction. With that being said, if you find any stories that you think would be good, please, please, by all means, send them to me. I would really appreciate it because I am doing this all by myself and it is not easy. Okay, so this one is I just went on a date with a guy who tried to rob me. I can't possibly tell anyone I know about this story, so here goes. 2 years ago, I returned home from my father's funeral. As soon as I opened the door to my apartment, a guy holding a crowbar came out from my kitchen holding my TV. I live in the city, so robberies are common. The guy began shouting at me, and he clumsily dropped my TV and began holding the crowbar like it was a baseball bat. I was so stunned at what was happening that I didn't move. The guy screamed at me to empty my pockets. From the stress of the last few days of my father passing away, I simply started crying. Not out of fear of what was happening, but because this was literally the worst time of my life. The worst moment, the worst minute and second. While crying hysterically, I gave the guy my wallet. I just sat on my floor and hugged my knees and told him through my tears to take whatever you want. He hesitated, looked down at me. He dropped my wallet and sat down beside me. Immediately, he began to comfort me. He began to apologize. He put my TV back on the table and told me it wasn't damaged. He told me that he lost his job and that his mom needed medicine that he couldn't afford, and that's why they were homeless. He told me all this while I just wailed. I cried for my father who was lost, and I cried because my home had been intruded on in the most violent way. For a good 10 minutes, I sat on the floor with a guy who had every intent to rob me, telling me that it would be okay and that he was sorry. He begged me not to call the police. I just started screaming at him to get out. He ran away so fast that he left the crowbar. I threw it after him as he ran down the street. 2 days later, I came home from work and he was sitting in front of my door. I was so terrified that I pulled out my phone, but he had this look on his face of, I'm not sure how to describe it, remorse, regret. He told me that he told his mom what he did, and his mom made me some soup. He handed me this tiny bowl wrapped in tin foil. Again, I was stunned and overwhelmed and angry that I slapped the bowl out of his hand and it shattered on the floor. I told him to leave or I was calling the police. He left. I remember he looked upset. I left the soup and shattered bowl outside my door, almost as a warning for him not to come back. About 3 months after that, I got a note in my mail slot from the guy. He told me his mother had passed away and that he was no longer homeless and that he had a job. He wanted to repay me for breaking into my apartment. He wrote down his address and told me that I was welcome to break into his place if I wanted, but that he didn't have much stuff. This all overwhelmed me. I threw away the letter, but I remembered his address. I remember walking by there one day out of curiosity. It was a ratty apartment building across the city. He was walking up to his room and he saw me. He waved. I turned away and left. He ran after me and apologized again. Told me that he never meant to do what he did. He showed me the program from his mother's funeral that he kept in his wallet. He wasn't lying. She was real. He was real. He was a real person. I don't know what it was, but I believed him. We slowly began to grow together as people. I can't describe it. After a year of maintaining communication and learning about who he was, he enrolled in a local community college and began taking courses to earn credits before applying to university. I helped him study for his history class a lot. He's great at math and science, though. Never invited him over to my apartment, however. That's probably a good idea. No matter how much I got to know him, I was still afraid of him, and he knew that. He knew that I couldn't trust him. But tonight we went out for coffee because he said he had an exam in his World Civ class. When I got there, he said he forgot his book. We just talked for a bit, we laughed, and then he told me he wanted to cook for me. On a whim, I decided to invite him to my apartment. After picking up some things from the grocery store, he came over. I was so nervous that I was shaking. He noticed. He squeezed my hand, then he made me dinner. It was amazing. We talked, we laughed, we sat on the floor and watched a movie on the TV he tried to steal, and we made jokes about it. Then he told me that he missed his mom. I gave him a hug, then he left. I don't know what I feel, but I do know that I can't give up on people anymore. Some people just have the shit end of life. Maybe things have a way of working themselves out. And I miss my dad too. There's an update. I am beside myself to log on this morning and see this at the top of this page. I have been a Redditor for a few years, but never thought this would happen. Also, to those of you who are messaging, commenting to confirm the validity of this, I guess it never occurred to me when I wrote this that it sounded so ridiculous. It really does. A little bit. I don't blame you for saying it's false, but it's real. He's real. I'm real. It all happened, is happening currently. I want to clarify a few things about this because I'm getting a lot of messages about a lot of different things. People are saying that I'm being too trusting of him after what happened. You're right, I suppose. I mean, I live in the heart of one of the most dangerous cities. My friend was robbed just a few years ago and was actually physically injured as a result of it. So me trusting him did not constitute me giving him a hug after he broke in. It was much, much more than that. My dad died of a brain aneurysm in March of 2013. He passed away peacefully in his sleep. The thing about my dad, though, was that he was the most generous, most kindest man in this world. I know people like to say that about their parents, but it's true about my dad. When I was 4, I remembered him giving these guys a ride from prison. They were released after serving their sentence, but had to walk to get to where they were going. My dad picked them up, had them hop in the back of his pickup truck, and took them home. He put his life and basically mine at the hands of these people who could have hurt us. They didn't, thank God. My dad taught me to be selfless and understanding of the world and the people, and I love him for that. But when I lost him, it shattered me and turned me into an entirely different person. After my dad died, I became severely depressed and angry. I was angry at everything. I had to take a leave from my job. I teach second grade. All day I would lay in bed and think about how much I hated God or whatever higher power for taking my dad away. Nothing seemed worth it. After the guy, my friend, broke into my apartment, I hated him for a while. I hated my dad for making me so trusting because I didn't call the cops on the guy. I hated my dad for dying. I hated him for being so incredibly compassionate and better than me. I hated myself for being vulnerable. I just hated everything. The guy who tried to rob me is a person, and of course, I constantly ask myself when I'm with him, what happens if he tries to hurt me or rob me again? But the thing about him is that he knows I'm thinking this, and he constantly tries to reassure me. We have grown together as people, as I said. There's a whole 2 years that I didn't post in this recounting because it would be like a novel-length post. Do I like him? I don't think so. I don't think he likes me. I think we both understand, respect, and honor the other for our mutual struggles. We're proud of each other, and we're both guilty of things. Me for shutting out my friends, family, and students and becoming an awful person after I lost my dad, and him for going to incredible lengths to try and save his mother from experiencing incredible agony in her final moments. I tend to show him this post. I want him to know. He doesn't have a computer or internet, but I think he'll find this humorous. His story is not mine to tell. How his mother died is not my story to tell. What exactly drove him to pry open my front door with a crowbar is not for me to tell. What happened to his family is not for me to tell. But what is for me to tell is that he's a human. He's flawed. God, he's so flawed. But after knowing him and learning about his life, about his childhood, and the tiny little child who used to be so passionate about school and learning as he was, as he told me, I know that he has his story, I have my story, and you have yours. And although I think it's irrelevant, the thought of even dating after the last few years hasn't crossed my mind. Was I involved in relationships prior to my dad's passing? Yes. One was long term and had a foreseeable end with an engagement. But things happen, life happens. I'm meeting with him tomorrow at his work while he's on break to give him some old study materials that I have from a literature class I took in college. It's all so normal, and I'm not afraid. My dad was never afraid, so I shouldn't have to be, and I choose not to be. Probably the best "so how'd you two meet" story I've ever heard. This could be made into a movie, and I would totally watch that movie. I'm sorry for your loss. I hope life continues to get better. Yes, agreed. I'm being stalked by my fiance's ex. What should I do? When my fiance proposed to me, their ex began to insert herself into our life. When this happened, she begged my fiance to leave me and marry her instead. At the time, my fiance turned her down, told her to stop stalking my Instagram, and things began to get worse. Very soon after this, my fiance had their first schizophrenic break, which the ex was well aware of. She then proceeded to feed into my partner's delusions, telling him I was going to steal all his money, hurt him in his sleep, or cheat on him in order to get my fiance to leave me for her. Once my fiance got proper mental health and realized she was again taking advantage of his illness to get what she wanted, he completely cut her off and blocked her on every platform. But things unfortunately didn't stop there. She then proceeded to block me on her main Instagram account, which she'd been using to stalk all my stories. Had made a fake account to stalk me with instead. She started copying every post I made, not even hours after I posted them. She would basically recreate anything I made, but with an extremely huge filter on her face that made her look more like me. And it gets worse. She started posting poetry, which was basically calling me an ugly, disgusting whore, which was very quickly taken down by Instagram. She spread really mean rumors about me by mouth as well, which I heard from multiple people who were concerned for my safety. At this point, it has now been almost 3 years since my fiance and I got engaged, and she's still stalking me with this account. I messaged her asking her to please stop this scary behavior, to which she ignored and continued to stalk me. I thought eventually she would get bored and find someone else to patronize, but she then took the stalking to a whole new level in real life. On Easter, I visited my fiance's family. At some point, I went to get my charger from the car, and as I was crossing the street, there she is, in the passenger seat of a car with some unknown man. She noticed that I see her, ducks, and the driver speeds away. I start to realize how serious the situation is, and I am very concerned that this woman is out for revenge. The person not only has a history of stalking not just me, but my partner as well. She wasted all his favorite food places for hours and days at a time. We know this because he showed up, saw her inside, came back 5 hours later, and she was still there. She also has a history of violence and essay against my fiance. After reading this, what do you think I should do? I don't have money to take care of this legally, but I'm so scared of what she might do next. I've contemplated outing her publicly and confronting her directly, but I'm afraid this will only cause more confrontation. Please, if anyone could give me any kind of advice, I would really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. There's not much you can do. 3 years means it's obsession and that needs treatment. What you can do is disappear, but that's harder to do than one might think. Plus, a determined, obsessed person can still find you. It's unfortunate that she crosses the line where a threat was made or physical harm was displayed. There is little legal recourse. Your fiance may want to get a brand new phone and start dress. That is, don't download a saved profile from the cloud, just in case she put a stalkerware on their phone at some time in the past. Also, get the car checked for tracking devices, and you two stay off of social media to make it harder for her to know what's going on or have an avenue into your lives, which just feeds her obsession. Quite a messy situation, darling. My opinion is that you should report this to the police and file a restraining order if possible. If not, I doubt any form of confronting her will work since she has been doing this for 3 years. If I were you, I would mess with her. If she if she is stalking you, she most likely knows your conversations to some degree. Let her overhear that you will meet her fiance somewhere and just go somewhere else. This one is dangerous, but don't give in to her prodding. Go about your business as usual, or at least appear to. Don't respond, give only silence. Can't tell if it's me or my dysfunctional family. I feel crazy and blame myself. Hey guys, apologies if this isn't the right subreddit, but I need some outside perspective because I feel like I'm going insane. We all go a little insane sometimes. I, 24 male, live at home with my parents, and for as long as I remember, things have been kind of rocky. I always blamed myself, but as I'm getting older, everything has been getting more difficult and my fuse is getting shorter. I still live at home because I dropped out of college due to severe ADHD. I was diagnosed at 19, but I didn't realize or accept the severity of it up until last month, and I'm currently working on getting into therapy again. As for employment, I'm pursuing a path in the trades right now via a pre-apprenticeship program. But that's a ways off at the moment as I need to wait for my desired union to hire. That being said, here's my story. All my life, I've been called sensitive. My father has always been emotionally negligent. He primarily played games and watched TV all night and slept all day, since my siblings and I were babies. I have memories from a young age of him yelling at us to go away when he's losing at his game or chasing and threatening to hit us for not listening. When I was 13, he caught me sneaking on my computer at 12 a.m. and asked me to shut it off because I would wake everyone up. Fair enough, but when I asked him if I could at least finish my battle, a request all gamers can understand, he refused, and I remember pleading to him, please. Mind you, the computer was my escape. My father didn't like anybody coming over or letting me go to their house. Sleepovers were out of the question at my house or theirs, so the internet was all I had. However, after asking him this, he proceeds to scream at the top of his lungs and wake up the whole house that attempt to smash my desk and computer. The computer survived. When I was 11, I was very upset. I forgot about what, but I was crying in my room and said I hate my life. He then came in with a belt, backed me in a corner, and threatened to beat me with it to give me a reason to hate my life. That's not okay. That's never okay. When I was 15, we went to Florida for the first time. It was early in the morning and we stopped to get freshly baked donuts. My father was in a rage that day because he had no cigarettes. Naturally, he made my mom get out and buy the donuts. Not wanting to get out in the blistering Florida sun, I shouted out to her, Ma, I want a French cruller. She didn't hear me, so I tried a couple more times before giving up. My father then yelled at me to get out and tell her, but I angrily defended myself against the outrage and told him no, I didn't want to. So he shouted at me to go F myself. These are only a couple instances of many in my life, not including the time he tried to kick my brother out at 16 because he got angry that my dad was screaming at him about folding a pool cover wrong. He told my brother to get the fuck out of his house, so he did. My mother stood there and cried and told my dad to go find him. They did, later on. But my dad then laughed in my brother's face about it and made it into a joke, something he does to deflect any sort of blame. My father never takes responsibility for any of his flaws and blows up and turns it around or walks away from conversations. Needless to say, I don't get along with my father. He is now a retiree and does nothing but sleep, eat, and watch TV. Don't have a good relationship with my father. He's critical, condescending, angry, lazy, and treats my mom like a 1950s housewife. He leaves his dishes and clothes and papers everywhere and blames my mom for everything when he can't find things. However, what baffles me most is that my mom defends him. She says that's just how men are. He literally inconveniences her all the time, turns the TV on loud in their room. I sleep next door to them while she's sleeping in the middle of the night. Gets up and then says something like, "Where's my coffee, woman?" or "What's for dinner, woman?" My mom once pre-seasoned dinner and drove him home while running errands because he was tired and wanted to go home and sleep. She asked him to put the dinner in the oven and he said no. He didn't want to. So she had to run upstairs and put it in herself, then come to the car and finish running the errands my father derailed. Oh, honey. What bothers me most is she constantly defends him. My mother and I used to get along very well. I had severe social anxiety in the past and was very dependent on her. Gaining independence while struggling with severe anxiety and ADHD was very difficult, and I'm proud of where I am now. But now it seems she has a problem with whatever I do, and all we seem to do is argue. I had my first relationship at 20, and she was upset and said that I was out of the house spending time with my girlfriend. She would blow up my phone if I didn't see her text, to the point where my girlfriend would also get upset because it would make her anxious. I had to be attached to my phone or my mom would be upset, texting every hour. My girlfriend and I are now broken up, but still remain very close friends. My mom still comments about our relationship because my ex has a troubling home life and struggles with mental illness. So I'm helping her navigate the medical system because she's scared to do it alone. She says things like, "I thought it would be the end of this when you guys broke up." She works herself up into a tizzy when I share my personal problems with her, but gets upset and feels sad when I don't share things with her. It's like I can never win. She makes me feel sad and guilty when she says those things, but when I try to be independent, she takes issue with it. I've tried to talk to her about things calmly, but she gets emotional and defensive and takes it to black and white extremes, saying things like, "Don't worry, I won't ever have to do anything for you again. I'll leave you alone." As I'm getting older, it just ticks me off now, and I often get angry, and she tells me I'm rude and disrespectful. I never curse at my mother or insult her, but I'm just tired of not being able to have my own life and having me be financially independent. "You live in this house, you need to be considerate of others. I let you do what you want," being held over my head all the time. I appreciate everything she does for me. I'm constantly exhausted, mentally and physically, and just want to collapse when I get home. However, she also takes it upon herself to do everything because she has ADHD that she refuses to treat and has no healthy coping mechanism. She can't stand it if I leave a plate or dish out, or if I have laundry undone. I am admittedly a messy person, but I very rarely have shit all over my floor. Just papers on my desk and a plate or cup and a pile of laundry in my hamper. But she never gives me any chance to do anything myself and later tells me about it after cleaning my room while I'm at work. I'm just so tired, I have no energy for anything anymore. I now just spend my days off laying in bed all day on my laptop. Sometimes I think maybe it is me. Maybe I am being disrespectful. Maybe I am lazy. Maybe I should be more thankful. Even my brother calls me lazy and rude. He has bipolar disorder and has always treated me shitty. He has daddy issues. He's very angry and he's taken it out on me my whole life. Gaslighting, verbal abuse, monopolizing our cousins and excluding me, then blaming me for ruining things when I get upset. Talking about me when he thinks I can't hear. The whole 9 yards. I just discovered the bipolar disorder recently, though, and cried out of relief because I realized it's not me. To this day, he claims my mom loves me more, and I was spoiled because my mom would constantly defend me after he would rally my little brother, who idolized him as a kid, to gang up on me. Calling me things like buck teeth or refusing to ever compromise with me in things and turning everything into an argument. He would weaponize my crying against me and call me sensitive if I sought out my mom. As a result, I was very damaged and bottled things up inside for a long time. to the point where I wanted to unalive myself at 18 years old. And he had the gall to say, I can't do that and I need to talk about these types of things. What drives me the most insane, though, is that my mom tells me to compromise. She always shuts down conflict and never solves it, defends my father's problematic behavior, and hammers things in my head at least 7 times a day. It gives me anxiety. You're giving me anxiety. She frequently wakes me up early before she runs out of the house to tell me something while I'm half asleep, and then gets mad when I can't remember. I've pleaded for her to stop and tried to explain it gives me anxiety. She gets angry and says she can say what she wants because she's my mom and it's her house that I live in. At this point, I do admittedly cut her off with a tired, okay, mom, before she can continue going on a million times. I know it's not right, but damn it, I'm tired. I'm tired. Some part of me knows it's them, but I always default back to blaming myself. I'm 24. I should have my own life. I feel like an emotionally underdeveloped teenager. I want to get out of here, but I can't. I only make $20,000 a year. I'm slowly starting to build up savings, but it's taking so long. Is it me? What am I doing wrong? What is wrong with my family? Is this ABUSC? Manipulation? I don't know, but I'm tired. I have trouble telling right from wrong. I thought I had my mom. She was the only one in the family who showed me love and affection, spent time with me, talked to me, let me confide in her. We watched movies and went out together, laid in her big queen-size bed and just talked for hours. But even that seems to be going sour now. Why is there no positivity, no communication? I feel beaten down and tired, like I have nobody. Me too, dude. Me too. I'm told I'm disrespectful and get ugly when I don't stand for my father's hypocrisy and tyranny, even when he treats her like a glorified maid. He even tries to control her from seeing her friends, and once angrily drove out and forced her out of a neighborhood bar in front of her friends for getting tipsy with her friends at 9 o'clock. He told her she always pushes the envelope. She then felt guilty and didn't want to deal with upsetting my father, so she didn't go out anymore. Anyways, if I go on anymore, I'll keep rambling. I'm half asleep and probably writing nonsense at this point. I'm just confused. I can't tell right from wrong anymore, where my feelings end and where theirs start. I just want to be happy, go out, not feel guilty for leaving a dirty dish around, have a normal relationship, have a friend over once in a while without feeling bad for not responding to my mom's texts. I always feel like I'm not doing enough. I read all this and I think it boils down to you need to figure out how to get out of that house. It's not good for your mental health. Some, far from all, of the problems are your fault, but they don't help you get better. They seem to make things worse. All right, guys, if you're still here, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you and I appreciate you so, so, so very much. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't yet and you feel so inclined to, because it really helps me out. I really, really appreciate it. Seriously, in all seriousness, if you guys have if you come across any stories that you want me to read, or if you have any suggestions for stories to research, please send them to me. Seriously, and I will be so grateful, and I will absolutely try to get to as many of them as possible. But until next time, stay safe out there.